the Subaru live stage. It's a very special hour about nothing. Starring Jason Alexander, Peter Tilden, and Wayne Knight. And it starts right now.
Oh, man.
All right, stop. I can't hear. I can't hear. They know that you're here. Thank you for coming out. Peter Tilden at 6 begins right now. Brought to you by, of course, Larry Miller and Sit and Sleep for the last 200 years. He'll beat anyone's advertised price, or your mattress is free. There you go. There you go. And we got a very special show tonight. It's the Peter Tilden Show with Jason Alexander, special about nothing, featuring Wayne Knight. We're here in the Subaru live stage. Thanks to Carl's Jr. and the new Beyond Famous Starburger. And by the way, I just ate that thing. Oh my gosh, right? That thing is amazing. And to ABK Beverages, and it's brought to you by the 2019 Subaru Outback, which must be their most adventurous Outback yet. And guys, thank you. Hi, Jay. How are you?
I'm very well, Peter. Thank you.
Well, it's going to be this. You're going to
I
make
have
me
a
work
question.
for it.
Why is it with me and featuring Wayne? Why isn't it with Wayne and featuring me? Why is there a distinction? Why is it not two withs or two features?
You know, if you get a with and an and, the and is the best one.
So the rumor is...
He's right. And a box. If you can get a box.
And then
an
as Wayne Knight.
Yes, Wayne Knight as Wayne Knight.
Yes.
So all the rumors about you being tough to work with is true.
Absolutely.
How come it's not this? How come it's not that? This is what it's like being his friend for a million years. Why are we going there? How come we're... You know how your wife goes, let's go for Chinese food.
Why Chinese?
And you're ready for Chinese, and in the car, you're going there. Like Ray Romano says, the launch sequence has started, and you're halfway there. She goes, what about Italian? And you go, well, I was set on...
Yeah, I already had General Tao in my mouth.
And all of a sudden I'm going, okay, we'll do Italian. And then it's, Thai could work, and then you want to just get out of the car.
Right.
You just want to get
Just
out.
like Jason on Survivor, it's like, why coconuts? Why?
So let's get right into it. First of all, we've got audience questions, etc., and people know we're friends, but they may not know, because we've heard so many stories about how you auditioned for Seinfeld. Let's do some Seinfeld stuff first, and then we'll move to some other
How
stuff.
I auditioned?
Yeah, because rumors are, I've read 11,000 different names of people that could have been George first that were asked. From
That makes me feel so good.
well, but I know it's not. But I know it's not true. There were only a couple. Steve Buscemi, is that accurate?
My understanding is Steve Buscemi was in high consideration or an offer. Chris Rock was in high consideration, got an offer. The one that I've always heard was like the guy they really thought was Paul Schaefer.
Oh, wow.
Boy, that would have been really good, wouldn't it? Yeah, that would have been something.
That thing might have run for a while if
That would
Paul
have been
Schaefer.
so different. Yeah.
Yeah, I know Danny DeVito was up for a while, and they were. I don't know. A lot of guys passed. That's all I can say.
And what did you have to do for the? How different? If we looked at the audition tape, people saw the audition tape. How different would it look than from what George became?
I was doing a blatant Woody Allen impression, sputtering in New York, and I didn't wear glasses at the time, so I put on glasses for the audition, and I literally did Woody Allen. I was no holds barred, and I thought, well, that'll go nowhere, but that was fun. And then I got a call saying they want to fly you to L.A. I was in New York to read with Jerry for the network, and I came out, met Larry. He said, "We love what you're doing. Just back off the Woody a little bit." And I backed
Were you
off
nervous?
the Woody.
Were you nervous because you thought
No.
you were?
I wasn't nervous because I had no understanding of what the show was, honestly, because I had only seen one scene. I hadn't even read a full pilot script, and I also the day that I was testing, the other guy testing that day was Jerry's best friend Larry Miller.
That's what I was just thinking there was going to be, oh, well,
Right.
screw that.
It was Larry Miller was there, and
Such similar energy.
and I had met yeah right.
They're not at all. It's a whole different deal. Yeah.
I met Larry
Boy, let me think for a second.
when I was doing Pretty
Boy,
Woman.
that would have been incredible. Okay, anyway,
Yeah,
so
it would have been good. Any of these guys would have been better, but
well, would have had a
but
smarter
I
subtext.
thought
Yeah.
when I saw Larry, I thought, well, there's no, I guess I'm just here to make sure he doesn't ask for the sun, the moon, and the stars. I'm the spoiler. But I thought it's Larry. It has to be Larry Miller. It's his best friend. So I went in.
You were the
going,
one who didn't wear a tie.
That's right.
And also, what people forget, reverse engineering this, we all know it's one of the biggest hits in history. But at that time, no sense that this was going to be anything.
No, I mean the story that Jerry goes, did you really say that to me? I remember we shot the pilot, and Jerry said to me at the wrap, he said, "What do you think?" I said, "I don't think so." And he said, "You don't think it's good?" I said, "No, I do think it's good. That's the problem. The audience for this show is me. It's guys 18 to 30 something." And yeah, I said, "We don't watch TV. You can't find that demographic." Alf was the #1 comedy when we did the pilot.
Oh wow! Let's take a minute. Listen to the applause.
Listen to the crowd.
Yeah. So
by the way, you're applauding for carpeting, basically. Okay.
I just thought it would not attract the audience that was watching TV at that time.
Which shows your insight and how you know focus groups.
Well, actually, I was right because the original audience for the show was the guys you can't get. It was guys 18 to 35.
And
it was
again,
the biggest
It was only by accident
why,
that the show...
yeah, that's actually why we got picked up, because there were advertisers going, "We want that demographic. They're watching it. We'll pay for a commercial."
And Wayne, how did your audition go, and how did you get brought into the show?
Well, I was like 2 years in, and I was just coming in for a one-off on the idea that the premise was, how long do you have to wait to hit on the girlfriend of a guy in a coma? And I came in as the house snitch. And so Jerry is hitting on the girl whose boyfriend is a biker who's in a coma, and I'm going to tell on him to the biker when he comes to, and he buys me off with a Drake's cake. So that's the entire premise. And then we were sitting, so I'm auditioning, and then I got the part, and then I'm sitting there next to Michael in the hospital room, and I think they just saw us together, and it was like this vision of the 1939 World's Fair, with the needle and the round ball, and you go, they fit together so well, And
do we ever find out what the animosity stems from?
No,
because you are angry. You show up angry. It's what, Jerry?
But you know what? I'm like that in life. It has absolutely nothing to do with anything. Because he's like, "Hey, pal, you want to do me a favor?" I'm like, "Are you going to give me $1?" He's like, "No."
But both of you, and I just want to say...
I was just going to say, you know that Newman existed before Wayne was Newman. It was a voice, and it was Larry David. Larry David was the voice, and it was Kramer yelling out the window, and Larry David going, "I'm going to jump!" And Kramer going, "Go ahead, Newman! Go ahead and jump!" Right? So there was a Larry David voice of a character named Newman.
Which, by the way, is
Newman
not in the series, because I revoiced that. So that when they went into syndication, there would be I'd be Alpha Omega Newman.
Okay, so we're looking at, by the way, two of the most iconic characters in the history of television. These two guys created characters that you guys really can't go anywhere where you're not known. Are there pockets like in the world?
There's one time I can, though. If I go out with Lassie, people go, "Lassie, Lassie." And
by the way, I'm on Universal doing something. I'm writing for a show or whatever, and I'm wandering around because I never really wrote. I just made it look like I was always the George character, where you look annoyed, so they think you're working, and I just take a walk, and I walk around the corner, and there's Lassie. And this is the most unbelievable collie. I mean, you can't even imagine what this dog looks like. It's a $1 billion dog. And I said, "Can I come see Lassie?" He says, "Yeah, it's Red Weatherwax."
Red Weatherwax, yeah.
So they take me into the trailer, and there's Lassie. And next to Lassie is this other dog like this. He's twitching, and it's just a bad looking. And I said, "Who's that?"
That's the Lassie fluffer.
That's the stand-in. So in other words, Lassie, Timmy's in a well, and there's a fire.
Yeah.
And a stand-in dog standing going like this. No, I'm going on. And
Lassie's got to go down the well. No.
This dog gets thrown into wells. This is into propellers. This dog has to pull 300-pound people out of holes. And other Lassie's standing there being groomed, watching the other dog getting pulled out.
Lassie's getting blown out.
So are there any pockets of the United States that were like bigger than others, where Seinfeld didn't take off, or Europe, or the world?
You know, it's funny because I got a letter once from Yemen, and I'm like, Yemen? Well, North or South Yemen? You go, North. I go, okay, fine. But Yemen. But then, so I'm doing this show that I'm doing art with George Siegel. I'm supposed to go to England and then to Germany or whatever. And he says, "Oh, I just got word. Seinfeld not so big in Germany.
Oh.
Also not so big in England."
No.
Really?
No.
No.
They didn't like it.
But everywhere else.
I know it did. I know it did very well in the Middle East for reasons.
Yeah, I know. Those funny Jews.
Yeah, it's huge. I would say,
which is what it's called over there.
Yes, exactly.
50% of the mail I get is from Australia. It's huge in Australia. That's where the George Bar is in Melbourne.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, that still exists, the George Bar?
Yeah.
I could get work.
What's the theme when you're going for a drink?
It's
all bald waiters.
It's the one drink
All
is called
bald waiters?
the garbage eclair.
Yeah.
You know, it's like every my mural of
And
me
does
on
it
the
do well?
chaise is outside, and it's huge. It's huge.
And what kind of food?
Food from the show.
Really?
I mean, stuff that we would have talked about on the show. The big salad.
By the way, let me just say something. When you're in a hit show, because Jason and I have done other shows which were not huge hits. I came to Seinfeld one day. When you're number one show, you have a deli layout there. I've never seen
Deli, they were carving for a while there.
Right, you can order anything. They were like trying to get away with let's order an entire side of beef.
There was actually, for some reason, I was in the
Breakfast.
writer's room, I think in season 6, and they were interviewing new caterers for the show. And I happened to be in the office. I was never in the office, but I happened to be in the office when Jerry was interviewing a caterer. And she said, "So what's the weekly budget on the catering?" And Jerry looked at her like she had two heads and went, "Unlimited."
It really is.
But then you go, what's the
Unlimited.
budgeting on the wardrobe? Very tight.
Very tight. Yeah.
Now, is it true, before we move on, is it true that they gave George, and I didn't know this until today when I was doing some research, all the outfits were one size too small?
My sleeves and my pant legs were too small.
Now, that's funny.
Yeah.
So always uncomfortable, always a little off.
Well, not only uncomfortable, but I thought they were gaslighting me. I'd wear a shirt one week, it would show up 2 weeks later in another episode. I go, did my arms grow? I mean, this shirt fit the first time we wore it.
That is brilliant. And Wayne, one listener wrote in a question, Sharon Stone, excuse me, this is not for me. Sharon Stone, did you actually see it?
Did I actually see it?
Because that's the interrogation scene.
Let me just say this.
Where and everybody wants to know. Because Sharon Stone said, in Basic Instinct, her take was that she was fooled into that scene by the director.
I understand that. And it's so easy to be fooled by Verhoeven because he's wearing, dirty jeans and he speaks in a Dutch accent. When he's coming towards you, hello, he's like, hey, he's fooling me. But one thing I would say is that one must like the area. Thank you.
Wow. And then getting spit on by, which was worse, that or getting spit on by the Dilophosaurus? And
You know what's ironic is that Spielberg saw me in that scene, and that's why I got cast to be spat upon by
Did you
the
ask him what?
Dilophosaurus.
Did you ask him what?
I got my spitter.
Yeah, he's like, the only thing that this is missing is if it spits.
So that whole inspiration for Jurassic Park with her.
Yeah.
That's it, yes.
How did you get Stephen, how did you get the idea for the Jurassic World? Oh, you're not going to believe this. If Sharon had kept her legs crossed, we'd never have the sequels.
Never thought
so
of a dinosaur.
you're in there doing the interrogation scene. What did he see? Did Steven Spielberg ever say what it was that he saw in you that wanted you to play the villain in that movie?
No, well, first of all, I never met him until I got to the set. I was cast. I'm at an agency at the time. My agent called. She says, "Are you sitting down?" I'm like, "No." She goes, "Sit down." I go, I don't particularly want to sit down. They're like, Steven Spielberg just cast you in the. I'm like, okay. Did you sit down? I'm like, no. What? I anticipate good things happening to me. You're the one who doesn't.
Still with that person?
No.
Is this one of those, I can't believe it, we got a call for acting for you?
Yeah. But then, you know what? This is not unusual. I mean, I'm in, JFK, and I have to shoot this day, and Oliver Stone comes up thinking, "You have words today. You think you can handle it?" I'm like, "Oh, God, come on."
Okay, so how did Oliver Stone, also from that scene, is everybody, your whole career is based on you looking at her?
Frankly, only people want to see is the trailer with her spreading her legs. I happened to be around. It turned into an entire career.
JFK, Oliver Stone, you work with some pretty major directors.
In those days.
Don't be
Prior to Seinfeld.
Are you gonna cry? So Oliver Stone, very cool to work with.
I once, this week, I'm having a tooth pulled. Anyway, that's all.
Unbelievable.
I auditioned for him twice, and it was interesting both times.
In that,
Well, I'll tell you the Platoon story. I went in to meet him for Platoon, and he had this wonderful British woman was his casting director, and I walk in, and she's taking me into the room, and he's basically sitting on a throne. It was this gigantic chair, and before
It was
she
a
can
toilet.
before she can get out.
Jason likes to be civil.
Oliver Stone, this is Jason Alexander. Before she can get it out, he goes, "Let me tell you something about this movie. Everybody's going to boot camp. You don't get through boot camp, you're not in the movie. I don't care what your contract says." I don't care about any SAG people. I don't care. I can't have any wusses out there. I can't. And he's going up. There's going to be snakes. There's going to be bugs. There's going to be live ammo, helicopters. You're going to be in the jungle. I can't have any wussies out there. And I look at this guy because we haven't said hello. And he's given me this tirade, and I looked at him, and the thing was in the news at the time, and I said, does the name Vic Morrow mean anything to you? And he just looked at me for a couple seconds. He said,
check, please.
Thanks for coming in. I said, thank you. Have a great film.
And then you sit in the car going, damn, I missed out on the snakes and spiders.
No.
This is very similar, though. Like when I went in, I'm doing a play at the Lincoln Center, and so Risa Brayman and Billy Hopkins are casting it at the time. And they're bringing me in to meet him. Why, someone's speaking in my head.
Somebody's talking.
We need to break.
Nobody has to tell me. I know when.
Why do I know?
Don't talk in my head. I got it.
I shouldn't know this.
They're going to be thrown off, and Wayne thinks it's a voice in his head. He doesn't know it's you. So go ahead. So go ahead. So finish your story.
Anyway, so they say, all right, go in. You're going to go meet Oliver. Don't do anything actory. He hates actory. And I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, how do you do? You know what I mean? What do you mean? Actory. What does that mean?
So?
So I went in and I'm playing the southern kind of like guy from Georgia that I know because I grew up there. And then when we get down to New Orleans, this is the totally wrong accent. I'm playing a guy who's from New Orleans, and I met the guy. And the guy's like, I live on Chapatoulas. And I can't do the accent I was doing. I got to do this accent. And he goes, I wouldn't. And so he just treats me like dung for the rest of the movie and just says nasty things to me all the time.
But he got your performance.
But you know
and
what?
that, ladies and gentlemen, is how Bill becomes the law. All right, we're going to take a brief break. Come back. Peter Tilden, Jason Alexander, and Wayne Knight from the Subaru Live stage. Hopefully we can take some questions. Does the audience have some questions? We can do some questions when we come back. Maybe we'll do that. AM 790, KABC.
I want to know about...
KABC Dependable
Night
Hello, Newman.
on AM 790.
Live from the Subaru Live studio, we're going to take some audience questions in a bit. And Jason and Wayne actually are going to come back for the next hour across the street back in the other studio and take questions from the home audience because it sounds like they're being nice guys. They actually just said
they're shrimp.
If I have to drive here, if I had to drive this far to get here, I ain't leaving until Thursday. So Wayne, you wanted to ask a quick question before we go to news, and it was about Pretty Woman.
Yeah, we've heard so much about Seinfeld, but Pretty Woman was such a big moment in terms of your career, and how'd that happen?
Another accident. I had done a show on Broadway that I won a Tony for called Jerome Robbins Broadway, and Rob Reiner. Oh,
really?
Thanks. Rob Reiner came to see it. He knew Gary. He was still married to Penny at the time. He knew Gary was looking to cast this thing. And he said, I saw a guy that might be right for you. So I went and auditioned for Gary, and Gary said...
After that show, you're right for anything.
I said, and Gary said, you could do it. You'd be good. And then he was not going to cast me. He didn't want me. He thought I was too young, too small, too baby-faced. And he had his eye on another actor, and they couldn't make a deal. And it got down to, they were shooting the movie, and they didn't have this actor yet. And the script was much rougher around the edges than the actual movie that Gary made. And there was a concern that I was so much smaller than Richard Gere that when it came to the fight scene, which was supposed to be a really brutal scene, that it would look like he was beating up a dwarf.
Oh, that's nice.
And it was a Disney-made film. They're very sensitive about dwarves and how they're treated. So.
Little people. Thank you.
Somehow the casting director got me to got me in a room with Richard, and they put telephone books on the floor that I stood on, and I did a scene with Richard that the casting director shot. And then Richard became my ally, and he went to Gary and went, "This is the guy. We should do this."
Wow.
I just mentioned last night, by the way, two things. Number one, Richard he's 61, just had a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's more than 61. I think he's 69.
Wow. So there, I said last night you're going to play.
No, you don't get the babies from that.
Yeah, I don't. Although he's Richard Gere, I said.
Yeah.
I walked into the Sony cafeteria, and you see a lot of celebrities around, okay, and you see him, and you go, oh, Richard Gere has like a light coming off of him. He has no pores.
I gotta tell you.
He's really good looking.
I got to tell you, my wife, who has lied through her teeth all through our 38 years, no other man is attractive to her. So she would say. She would meet anybody. She goes, I go.
That's what my ex-wife said to me.
Hugh Jackman, he's all right. Nobody is right. She comes on the set for Pretty Woman, and Richard bats his eyes at her, and she goes, "This is a quote. He has stardust on him.
I mean, there used to, like, I saw Charlize Theron in person at a party, and it was, she's an alien. There's proof that there's life on other planets, because she's not from here. She's 11 feet. There are no pores, and everything was made out of clay or something. Same with Richard Gere.
Yeah, Richard is gorgeous, and Richard's an off. I really.
Who's going to have a great time with that kid?
I adore him.
Throw the ball to Daddy, and then tell Daddy, then go get it, because he's not going to bend. He can't bend, and he doesn't know where he is.
Believe me.
All right, let's take a brief break. We're going to take audience questions coming up. Lots more to talk about with Jason Alexander and Wayne Knight when Peter Tilden returns right here.
Featuring Wayne Knight.
Oh, now all of a sudden you want him to diminish. AM 790 KABC.
Guest starring.
Live from the Subaru Live stage, it's a very special hour about
It can still
nothing
be special,
on
can
AM
it?
790 KABC.
AM 790 KABC, obviously Peter Tilden with Jason Alexander, Wayne Knight, and the Subaru Live stage. And again, thank you, Carlos Jr. and the new Beyond Famous Starburger, which blew me away. It was the audience ate it too. Amazing. Really stunning burger. And ABK Beverages and the Subaru Outback. So you guys both did Broadway. And Jason, you did it young. You did it early, right? You were the theater kid in school and did magic also. You wanted to be. Jason's the kind of guy that you're at July 4th at his house and he comes out in a straitjacket and just wants to do an escape in front of you. He's that guy.
And I wasn't doing a trick. I was just in a straitjacket.
But you wanted to be a magician at one point, right?
I thought I would be a magician, and I quickly realized that I was not good enough to be a magician.
So Broadway happened.
I became very serious about acting when I was 14. I actually fell into a real career at 14, and left college early to do. I got my first Broadway show when I was 20.
Which is kind of stunning. And it was not a success.
No, it was a very famous disaster.
And then, 2 years later, you came back?
I worked in between that, but my next Broadway show was 4 years after that.
And I'm curious, when I did like country music, people would send me tapes and they'd say, boy, you listen to a lot of tapes, like hundreds of tapes every year. Anybody that jumped out at you? And I'd say very rarely, because there's a different level that you have to be at to really perform and be out there and make it. How did you know that you could actually do that? Were your parents supportive? Because mine would have laughed. They would have Broadway. What are you crazy? Were they supportive enough?
Yeah, well, they had to be because, I wouldn't have been able to do what I did. I was a kid, so if they weren't taking me to the auditions and stuff, I wouldn't have been able to do it. They were supportive. They were just nervous about it because nobody in my family did this, and the reality is it tends to be a rather bleak existence.
And did it feel like home when you do it? I always think when you do a new piece, it's like going to a new school. It's new people. And you got to prove yourself to them, and you're nervous, and you don't know the rhythms, you don't know how it's going to work out.
I don't remember. Yeah, I was probably. I guess we're all, when we're younger, we're a little more nervous when you're starting to do professional work because you're also young, and you're going, I'm the kid. I don't have an experience.
But do you have a mentor that did theater or nobody?
No, I'm not a mentor. No, I mean, here's the truth. There's not a great. No. The difference between doing a play, say at college, and doing a play on Broadway, it's not the stage, it's not the theater, it's the audience. The audience comes to Broadway with a very different expectation of what they're going to experience than they do if they go somewhere else. It's supposed to be the mecca of American theater, so it's the audience that's different. It's not the process of doing it.
With. Yeah, and also who you're working with. I mean, because you can hit the ball back from somebody who's hitting the ball to you, and you go, "Ooh, that feels a lot different than it did, in college."
Now you played college football, yes?
No.
Oh, high school football. High school football.
No, actually, what happened is I just was fat. And I grew up in the South, and people came up to me and said, "Hey, you fat." And I go, "Yeah, I know." And they say, "Yeah, I'll play football." And I'm like, not so much. And finally, before my senior year in high school, I said, all right, I've got to pretend I have some testosterone in my body. I'm going to try out for football. So I went through spring training, and it was like, twice a day, practices in Georgia, in humidity, crabbing down 100. And also they gave me the worst pads known to man because all the other people had pads. So I got these pads from this guy, Benny Akers, who was this big fat guy who just died playing football, I believe, and he never bathed, Benny. And so I got his pads, and I'm like, gah, 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 gah. And this guy Scott,
That guy's pads who never bathed.
oh
That's
my
great.
God!
What a
And this
win.
guy Scott, who was like going to show me the ropes, would show me how to cheat by hitting me in the head and kicking me in the nuts and all this kind of stuff. And I made the team, and then I turned in my duffel bag and said, "See ya," because I want people to notice me. I would never see the ball if I played.
So in your family, how did you take the leap all of a sudden to start?
Well,
doing theater?
I was in kindergarten, and they wanted me to do this poem. And it was Miss Mary Lou's kindergarten. There were 52 kids in the kindergarten. It was in Cartersville, Georgia. There was a crippled woman in a chair with a cane, and Miss Doris would spin her around, and she would hit you with the cane, and that meant that you were it.
It sounds like fun. Really,
it was
sounds
so
like
much fun. And so we're doing this presentation at the thing, and I have this poem that I'm supposed to give it. 52 smiles is a lot of smiles, and they can go for miles and miles. Okay. So she kept forgetting, because strangely, the woman became forgetful. The one sitting in the chair, that they were spinning. And so I said, time for my poem. Oh, we'll get to it. So finally, I said, I'm going to do my poem. I go, okay, go, now's the time. So I go out and I do my poem, 52 smiles. I didn't realize it was at the end of the show. This was the last thing. She'd totally forgotten until the last thing. Okay. So I do 52 smiles, a lot of smiles. And the audience knows this is the end of the show. Wow. I get this, I'm killing them. They're loving it. They're loving the poem. And I got such a, little baby chubby from that was it. I'm like,
That was the moment that defined you.
That was it. That moment in Miss Mary Lou's kindergarten. And I had to keep it quiet that I wanted to be an actor for the next 15 years.
Oh, yeah, no, that's not a good thing.
I'm growing up in the South.
Not when we were growing up.
No.
That was
and then
good.
this guy says to me, there's community theater is doing this thing, because in my speech class, do you want to go over there and, audition? I go, I don't know. Okay. So I went over there and I got this small part, and this thing sent me no flowers or whatever, and I'm helping this girl down from someplace. She's getting a prop. Next thing I know, we're making out. And then we're in the back of a car, and we're making out, and we're traveling somewhere, we're making out, and I'm going, I think I could get laid doing this.
So that was it.
That was it.
Good night. Good night.
Good night,
And now,
everybody.
kids, you know why people get into theater. AM 790, KABC. We'll be right back.
Once again, here are Peter Tilden, Jason Alexander, and Wayne Knight. On AM 790, KABC.
I just wrote on myself. I'm so mad. All right, so we're here in the Subaru studio with Jason Alexander and Wayne Knight. Do you guys see each other? People want to know, and then I'll let these guys ask questions. Do you guys ever see each other hang out? Everybody wants to know. Do you hang out with Jerry? Do you see Julia? Do you see?
We bathed with each other just today.
Okay. And that's for a college. Are you really into saving?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
It's all for account.
Something.
I don't see much of anybody very often. Jerry's primarily in New York. Michael's, I think, primarily in New York. Julia is working and getting Emmys every 5 minutes, and
Wayne has the restraining order, so it's...
I'm lucky enough to occasionally bump into Wayne and Warburton and Cranston and a couple of
Boy,
those
Cranston,
guys.
whatever happened to him?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
going to see Network.
If you don't remember, he was the dentist who converted so he could tell the jokes, which is it's amazing looking at Bryan Cranston going from Malcolm in the Middle
yeah.
to one of the top
Walter
dramatic
White
actors,
to,
Walter White to
owning the
So,
world.
I want to meet your time this break. Who do we have in the audience? Yes, your question?
Oh, can you tell a story about each other that either one of you want to know out, you don't want it out?
So what he's saying is, can you tell a story about each other that you don't want out?
Can we aggravate each other? Is that-
No. Tell a story about each other that maybe no one's ever heard before.
Good luck.
I'll tell you one thing about Wayne. It's not a story. It's so you see the kind of characters we do, and you think, well, that's the guy, because he's so good at playing those kind of guys that you go, that must be the guy. Here's what you don't know about Wayne. First of all, and I'm not just saying this because he's sitting here, he's one of the brightest guys I know. He's incredibly well-read. His mind, we've had some political conversations, some social conversations, really sharp. And here's the thing that's really crazy. He's one of the fastest damn men I've ever seen. You did a running thing on the show, and we were all going, look at
How
this
is that
guy
possible?
go.
Really?
It was like a bullet. We're going, this is not a small man. He is He said, well, I've spent my life fleeing things. So.
All right, there we go. So wait, now it's your turn.
For a cross-dresser, I think that he has some of the best taste that I've ever seen. Because usually you can spot it right away, And with Jason, you go, that is an attractive. Oh my God, it's Jason.
It's true.
Because I can afford the high-end stuff.
All right, another
Yes,
question.
yeah.
Another question from somebody. Yes.
How often per week, on average, do you get called by your Seinfeld character name?
How often do you get called by your Seinfeld name?
My wife, twice a day. I get a lot of so I get a lot of stuff walking down the street. I don't get the name as much
Can't
as I
stand
get
you.
can't stand ya. I get little catchphrases, yada yada, shrinkage, Festivus, Serenity now. And I will almost always, if somebody yells something out that I know is a Seinfeld thing, I'll go, hey, how you doing? The only thing I do not turn around for is when they go, George! And it's not that I'm trying to be a jerk. It's just that so many times I've heard that, and I turn around very smugly to go, yes, yes. And they're calling somebody named George. And I feel like such a schmo that I,
The other thing about these guys, that in being with both of them out in the public, because it's weird when you're out with somebody who's known. Usually 3 people out of 10 in a room know you, or 7 people. Everybody knows you. And the cool thing is, they light up. It's like you give people, in today's world where people are going through stuff and they're stressed and money problems and stuff, people see them and they just light up. And what do you think? I'll ask both of you. Seinfeld is a show that won't die in syndication. It just stays as popular as it's ever been, and new generations keep finding it. I mean, my son's not going, Dad, did you see Gunsmoke last night? But Seinfeld.
That Festus.
Seinfeld.
The hell with Festivus.
Although it is-
Festus.
it
I don't think the real McCoys are the real McCoys.
Let's remake that. So, what is it about that show that
Yeah,
just
Jerry
won't die?
disagrees with me about this because Jerry says that it's just because it's funny. That it's funny and funny is funny and funny. Nah, okay, fine. I believe that it tells the truth about humanity, which is that we stink. that there basically are no good people on the planet.
But
that
what's funny,
everybody
see-
wants something, and you recognize all the people on the show. Like, I know him. I know him. I know him. I don't recognize myself, but I recognize him. I recognize him.
But you know what I think part of that is that no matter what happens, everybody wants to have those best friends that come over all the time and hang. And as much as I know there was no hugs, no
hugging,
no
no learning.
lessons.
no learning, it felt like you each, in a weird way, had each other's back no matter what.
You're wrong. I mean, that honestly, that vibe did not.
That never occurred to us.
The
Never.
cast, yes, but the characters, no.
No.
And I also don't understand the longevity because, yes, it's funny, but it's funny from topical stuff from 20 years ago. I mean, there were no cell phones when we were making that show. When a kid in college goes, I'm grooving on this show now, I go, really? And that's why when I said it's popular in the Middle East, I'm not kidding. I've been recognized all over the Middle East, and I'm talking about to Palestinians in small towns going, what are they watching?
But you know what? Because it's ostensibly, they call it the show about nothing, which is a lie, because it's about stuff that everybody goes through the day. And it's Jerry's. Jerry did a charity thing, because thank you to Jason. It was Jason and Jerry and Ray Romano and Brad. We actually did a Seinfeld Ray reunion for charity, which was amazing. And Jerry comes up with the thing, 5-hour energy drink. Who decided 5 hours was the optimal time for it? And you go, yeah, it's an 8-hour day.
Yeah. It's 4 hours, an hour, 2 hours,
and the stuff
8 hours, 5 hours. Who needs 5 hours of energy?
How much more would it have cost them to do the toilets to the floor, the doors to the floor? They can't tell your shoes.
Yeah.
Why don't they do them to the floor? So Jerry sees the stuff, and that's what the show is. And you go, oh wow.
I got to tell you, not just because I love him and I worked for him, but he just sees things. I knew he was a genius when I saw him do a stand-up bit about newspapers, and he said, they must be so relieved at the end of every day that just enough things happen to fill the paper perfectly. At 5:05, they must go, if one more thing happens, we got a paragraph on an empty page. And I thought, that is so brilliant.
Well, and then you have that mind working with the mind who says, I got to get to Dodger Stadium. I'll pick up a hooker so I can use the carpool lane. And those two geniuses somehow found each other, and from that came this show. AM 790 KABC. Peter Tilden 6 continues with Jason Alexander and Wayne Knight, inexplicably, right after this.
It's a very special hour about nothing. Once again, here are Peter Tilden, Jason Alexander, and Wayne Knight.
AM 790 KBC, we're here in the Subaru Live stage with Jason Alexander and Wayne Knight, who will both be going into the studio with us afterwards. So if you're listening at home, get ready to call and ask some questions next hour. We're going to do some topical stuff next hour. And before you go, like this hour wraps up, we got about
You mean Seinfeld isn't topical? The show from 1990 is not topical? You're on top of the wave. You're cutting edge, for God's sake.
Next, we're going to be talking about Sky King and Penny.
Wow. Of all the shows. Explain what Sky King was.
Was that
King-
the marionette show?
No. Sky
that was
King a
Fireball
show-
XL5.
On Saturday mornings, there was a guy with his two-engine plane and his niece. And they would go on flights together.
The faces and the eyes that Wayne just indicated when he said his niece implied that Sky.
Just call me Sky.
You're going up with your uncle again Saturday. Why?
My friend has a joke that ends with that. Says, "Don't worry, Sky. She's only an actress."
So to that point, we moved to Calabasas. My older son only heard that the Lone Ranger lives on our block. The Lone Ranger. He'd heard about it, right? So I
Clayton
want to see,
Townsend?
Clayton. Right. So he wants to see him. 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 And he's never there. He's never there. And by the way, he's 1,000 at this point.
And not allowed to wear his mask.
And not allowed to wear the mask. Exactly.
But he does wear.
No, he wears something that
he
looks
wears
like.
the
Yeah,
stuff
I know.
Like,
So one day I'm walking out to put the
Yoko
mail
Ono
to mail the
sunglasses.
mail out or something, and I see him out there, and because oh my God, and I call my son, and my son comes out excited that he's going to see him, and what he sees is an 87-year-old man, as white as an albino, in a robe going to his mailbox with the robe untied.
Yes. Hi ho, Silver.
And my son to this day says, "Are my testicles ever going to do that?" And I
my
said,
God.
"Yes, they are."
Yeah.
They were dragging behind him.
Oh my God.
And ladies and gentlemen, my son started to cry.
Does he know that Kimosabi means draggy testicles?
AM 790,
Hey, ha.
KABC. We'll be right back. Maybe.